I ain't gonna expose. I'm not like that. I'm not a snitch. Virginity. It's a hush-hush topic.
Yeah. They love me.
Let's see if your parents raised you right.
It's deeper than the physical.
What up, fam? Welcome back to the Juxtaposition, everyone. Welcome back to the Juxtaposition. I am Nana, and these are my lovely co-hosts,
Janet and Bernice.
And today we have a special guest,
yes,
guys.
We do.
Special. So a little quick story on our special guest. Why someone called me? Sorry. So I run a leadership program, right? At Inner City Outreach. Great organization. You guys should donate to them. And so we wanted to add a different element, and we have a friend that we both know, which is Audrey, and Audrey knows Miss Lara, and we're basically saying like, yeah, we should get her the nutritionist, you know, it would be amazing. And she came and blessed our leadership program. And then I'm like, nah, because our last leadership program we had, the last session was like super good. Because I think we're talking about like different oils and different. Yeah. I was so mind blown. I'm like, wow. So I'm like, after I pulled her to the side, I said, no, I need you on the podcast, and I scheduled in, and she's here today. Everyone, welcome Miss Lara.
Yay! Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Bernice.
We're so glad to have you here. This is my first time meeting Lara here, so I'm excited.
She's wonderful.
When we came in, because we came Nana and I came kind of late, but. Well, there's no excuse for that. But anyways, when she came in and Janet and her were having a conversation, I can hear I'm like, this sounds like it's going to be a good one. So thank you so much for coming onto our podcast.
Thank you guys for having me.
We are excited to get to know you and what you do and being able to bless others. Obviously, nutrition is important, and so we're going to touch base on that. But before we do, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe a little bit of a backstory, and then, we can get into it.
Sure. So, I was telling Janet before you guys came in, so I studied accounting and finance. So I'm a CA, CMA, I got all my accreditations, but I was so interested in nutrition. So I was telling you my background is, Lebanese, Armenian, like we know food. We do food really well. That's our love language. We feed people. And so nutrition was always an interest of mine. I just didn't know what to do with it, like 25 years ago when I was studying. So I, went the safe path and I became an accountant. And I worked up the ranks, and, I have 2 kids, I'm married, just very blessed life, but there was always something missing. So back in, I think, 2014, I was at a venture capital firm as their controller, and their fund was winding down, and I just had a decision to make. I was like, okay, do I want to do this for the rest of my life, or do I want to do something else? So I talked to my husband, and I prayed about it. I got lots of people to pray for me, and I really felt led to study nutrition. And, I remember sitting on my couch, and I wasn't going to talk about this, but God brought it to mind right now. I was, I'd gotten people to pray for me, and I was sitting on my couch, and I was like, Lord, is this really what you want me to do? And because I feel like this is my ministry. You have no idea. Some of the conversations I have with clients, Christians, non-Christians, and God opens doors because I get to know them intimately. And truly, it's a ministry. So I was sitting on my couch, and I felt it was so clear. He was just so clearly spoke to me and showed me other things, and like, this is what I want you to do. And it's scary when you have a career, everything is fine, and you're doing well, and then you make a shift. So, and one of the reasons that I'm doing this is because I want people, especially believers, to feel well. Like, I know what it feels like to feel well and unwell, and I know that when I'm feeling well, I can spend more time with God. I can hear His voice clearly. I could serve Him passionately, and so that was my first, that's my first love, is to really help people, believers, follow what God is calling them to do, because we all have the thing that we've been created to do, you know, the thing that you can do, Nana, I can't. That's not my calling.
Right.
So yeah, that was, you know, my journey. I've had my health journey, and, you know, I'm 47, and
You don't look like it.
Oh my gosh, no.
yeah, I'm 47, and I help women. Like, this is what my focus is now, because, you know, as we change, as we get older, our bodies change.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had my health crisis, which, you know, helped me really focus in on this group of women, because, you know, ladies, like, you're super young, and, you know, I pray that your body changes really well. But, you know, we do go through changes.
Yeah.
And we need support through this time of life, because we could feel honestly amazing or not so amazing. So, you know, that's kind of in a nutshell how I got to where I am today.
That's amazing. How do you encourage, like, your faith in what you do? Whereas if it's weight loss or giving someone advice or anything like that, how do you incorporate your faith?
Well, I mean, I get to know people. So I work with women on, you know, a long-term basis. So the minimum that I work with is for 6 months, because you need, especially the things that I focus on, like with hormonal imbalances and health issues, etc. It takes time for the body to heal. It took a lot of time to get to where we are. So I get to know people, and you know, it's amazing that God, when He opens the doors, like, I've prayed with my clients, and some of them have been saved, some of them have given their life to Christ.
So cool.
So cool.
Yeah.
And I work with a lot of believers, and we carry baggage too. It doesn't mean just because we're saved that, you know, we're totally healed of the trauma.
Right.
So, you know, when I know they're believers, it's actually much easier, because the door is open, and I could, you know, without getting into a lot of detail, but some of the issues that we have in our health is actually related to our past trauma. And if they have an open door, if they allow me to, I could, you know, invite the Holy Spirit and heal that trauma in you know, in an instant.
Doing a double job.
Yeah, that's
doing nutrition and
ministry,
healing.
like, she calls it ministry.
Exactly.
And that's what I like. Sorry for interrupting you, but I like that you called it ministry, because I think a lot of times you just call it a job, and then you don't. But a ministry is different, because you know the Holy Spirit's with you in that, and so it directs you in how you interact with each individual client.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah,
I
for
like
sure.
that.
And I can't do. I mean, I pray over my clients. I get obsessed with my clients, because I get so invested, and I have to, you know, leave it with Him often. He reminds me to, you know, I'm not Jesus. He's Jesus. But, you know, I pray for them. I pray with them on calls if they allow me to. I've had all kinds of different faiths. Yeah, if they allow me to, and I say, I'm going to pray in Jesus' name, if you're okay with that, then we can pray together. And they do, and they feel peaceful, and they experience Him. You know, it's like, it's not, maybe not all of them will be saved, but it's kind of like planting a seed that, you know, I felt good when this happened, right? So, yeah, it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I love what I do.
I could see that.
It's a good thing. The joy of
Yeah.
having to like something that you do, it comes off like with ease, and I think people just kind of naturally draw to you, because you're like,
There's a passion.
There's a passion for it. It's not like you're dragging your legs every day to work, and you're coming in, like, people can tell, like, when you're passionate about something. So
For sure.
yeah, that's awesome.
You probably wake up every day, like, ready to go, and not really having to dread to go. And that's what everyone wants to probably get to,
Right.
like, waking up loving what you do. And I can hear it in your voice. Definitely hear it in your voice.
It's an excitement.
Yeah.
But, the Bible encourages, of course, to, like, make our bodies and care for our bodies and maintain a healthy weight. So how, as, like, Christians, can we integrate, like, nutrition choices and along our weight loss journey? Like, how do you think that can be?
Sure. I mean, this is what I tell my clients, okay? This is where I would like for us to all get to, is to first have knowledge. I was telling you guys, like it's really difficult to navigate today in the world that we live in terms of nutrition. Like it's a lot harder today than it was even 10 years ago or 20 or 15 or 100 years ago because our food quality is deteriorating. It's like, you know, it's mass produced. We have more food, but the nutrient density is declining. Like they study food every 7 years, I think. And every time they study, let's say a tomato, they find that the nutrient, like vitamin C, has declined by more than 50%. Half. Wow. You can eat a tomato from 7 years ago, and we have half the amount of vitamin C in it. Like,
that's scary.
It's just mind-boggling. So it's important to have knowledge about food, and then to eat in a way that, like, to recognize that you have full freedom over food, but that it also has to, like, it's a balance between enjoyment and nourishing your body, right? Because I get my clients to ask this question of themselves, like, you know, whenever they want to eat something, like, is this food worthy to be in my body? Because if we're a vessel, right, this is what we function in, right? Holy Spirit lives here. We carry God around. And this is the one thing that we can't get more of, right? We could buy a new car, we can buy a new house, we could buy new clothes, but this tissue is all that we have. Right. And so when we eat something, yes, it should be enjoyable, but it should also be worthy to make up my future body, right? Like, I think one of the things that resonated with the kids, you know, when I spoke, is that our cells have a finite life. So when you eat a burger, when you eat a McChicken or whatever, it's going to become part of your cells. Like at a cellular level, you're going to carry that thing around for, it could be half a year, right? Some of your cells could live for 180 days. Some of them live for 4 days. But that food is becoming part of your tissue. So it's like, yes, I want to enjoy and I don't want to feel restricted, but it should also be from a place of worth. Is this worthy? You know?
It's so hard though.
Is it?
No, see the chicken wings and the burgers right in front of my face, and then when your friends want to go out and you already meal prepped. Yeah. Like we talked about meal prep. We already meal prepped, and it's like, oh, let's go out. It's like, oh, I want to go too, and then you just break whatever commitment you had to yourself. It's hard because the people around you can kind of like, pressure you into like, yo, just buy this food. But I definitely get it though.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? When you get to a certain point, when you get to a certain age, the body is not as forgiving.
It stays.
It does, and not from like a fat perspective. It's like, you know, I've gotten to a place where I'm extremely careful because I know what good feels like, and I know what bad feels like, and I don't want to feel bad. It's not worth it. You know, it's truly not worth the discomfort that the food causes. So you get to that place. So you almost have to get to a place where you feel really good, and then you really notice what that food made you feel like. And this is, I get my clients to do this. So you keep a journal of like, okay, so I ate my food prep food, my meal prep food, and how did you feel? How did you sleep? How was your energy? Did you have cravings in the afternoon? How'd you poop? Right? Like all really important things. And then what happened when you ate the wings and, you know, deep fried in canola oil? And,
she hates canola oil.
Canola oil.
My mind is blown on canola oil.
Wait,
now.
I need her to explain that though. You need to explain that because I actually don't know anything.
Yeah, I was amazed, but
we will talk about it.
Yeah, that's something I want you to explain.
For sure. For sure.
But I want to ask you, what's some food that like makes you happy, and then you know like some food that makes you like doesn't make
like enjoyable?
Yeah. And in terms of like your body, like
that feels really good.
That feels really good at this point in your life right now.
You know what? It really depends. I love eggs. We were talking about eggs. Okay, so you guys, I'm very particular about the food that I eat. So I find farmers.
Yeah, I've also wanted to engage in that. In
Okay,
terms
yeah.
of going
Break
to
that
like
down,
farmers
yeah.
market or local farms.
Yeah.
That, like,
So you don't go to the grocery store?
I do.
Like not like you don't go at all, but what would you go to the farm for?
So meat and eggs.
Okay.
Meat and eggs I buy from the farm. If I could buy milk from a farm, I would. I just haven't found it. So, I mean, we live, in an environment that we can. There's farmers markets, but there's there's websites where you can find local farms. So this one, I didn't find him there, but I suggested he put himself on it because he's got great eggs, and it's actually the same price as a grocery store eggs. And I know it's organic.
Right.
I've seen his chickens graze.
Yeah.
It's like it's a farm, and it's not too far. It's so the quality of the food is really important. So I could smell the difference, taste the difference. I was telling my husband I order meat from a farm, and if I want, I could go there. It's actually cheaper. It's organic. It's actually grass fed, grass finished. It's cheaper than a grocery store, and the quality is like so much better.
You can tell,
and they deliver to your house.
Oh wow!
well, that's
You got like 3 things for one in that one price. Which is
right,
amazing,
and it's I'd rather eat less and eat better quality food. Right. So my meat and my eggs. So what do I like? I don't know. Like I do like my morning smoothie. I like. I actually really like lamb. A lamb steak will take. I've grown to like. I'll eat burgers, homemade burgers, salads, veggies, all kinds of stuff. Sweet potatoes.
Like you can eat anything, but because you're actually getting the meat
about where you're
getting
where
it's coming from, it doesn't feel like it's bad because it is. Anything grown properly is good.
It's good for you.
In moderation, of course. And so, like, I think it's not restricted because when we feel like, oh, you eat a burger, they're like, oh my gosh, it's bad. Yeah, but
it's actually not.
Yeah,
it could be really good for you. And there's a lot of mythology out there. Like we were talking about the eggs. Eggs are actually really good for you. There's retinol in there. There's nutrients that our body really, really likes. So I feel really good when I eat eggs. I love yogurt. I do. I mean, I don't know if you're fermented food. Like every culture has fermented food.
Yeah.
What do you guys have? What's fermented food traditionally for you?
I'm trying to think.
Fermented. The definition is. What's the definition of fermented food?
Like let's say a pickle, or there's bacterial growth that preserves the food. So there's kefir. Yogurt is fermented food.
What about like fish? Fish can be fermented.
It could be fermented.
Yeah. I feel like the drier fish, that's all I can think about. Like, but they preserve it and they kind of like
salted fish.
Salted fish.
Like dried fish.
I love
possibly.
salted fish.
Yeah.
It tastes so good.
Yeah, it's like dried out.
Like a dried fish.
Yeah, dried fish. Yeah.
I don't know if it's fermented.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
I think it's more dry.
Dried, yeah. I don't think we have a fermented.
No.
I don't think so.
Like the Germans have sauerkraut.
Yeah, I've heard. I've heard of that. But yeah, we don't.
That is.
That's so interesting.
Yeah,
we're a lot of carbs, but just in like a different form, like a plantain, a boiled, or something like that, or eggs,
or cassava,
Yeah, that's like more root vegetables.
Yes.
Would be like kind of where we're leading to.
Right. Yeah. Which are very rich in fiber, which will actually feed your beneficial gut bacteria. So they did a research in like rural African countries, I forget where, and they compared the gut bacteria of the people there to like a North American person. They had like diverse bacteria, beneficial bacteria, none of the pathogenic bacteria that we have. And their gut health was so much stronger. They were also leaner. Now, they were on a lot of fiber, like lots of fibers, roots and beans and whatever, and mostly carbohydrate.
Yeah.
But they were also so active.
Yeah, we gotta talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Our moms.
Yeah. Please, let's
So
talk about it.
yeah, my mom, she's in the stage of like, obviously she's getting older. She's getting older.
Tread lightly.
I love my mom, obviously.
Yes.
But I want her to be healthy.
Yeah.
And it's been a struggle because she doesn't quite understand. Like, she looks at me and she thinks like I'm sick or something. Like, not in a bad way, but she just thinks because I'm so lean, I'm like, it's not healthy to be this lean. And like, why are you going to the gym so much? You shouldn't carry that much weight and all that stuff. And you need to eat a lot more, which is fair. But my mom eats the same thing every single time. And there's no like,
variety.
yeah, so how
Or
do
green.
you? Because I'm sure you probably have diverse clients.
For sure.
If, for example, my mom were to come to you, how would you start her off? Because she's Nigerian.
Yes.
She's been raised on this food that she's been living on for her whole life. So it's basically rice, a stew that's filled with lots of oil. There's a vegetable in there, but it's been cooked down. So I don't think like half the nutrition is probably disappeared in the stew. She likes to put meat and fish in there. So obviously there's some type of, but there's no like, everything's kind of like stewed down. It's like all stewed. So
Yeah.
Oil, bare oil.
yeah, like, so how would
Lots
you
of oil.
get a parent or a family member that is so like, just,
Right.
I'm not open to
Yeah.
this
So that's,
idea of
I mean, I have
nutrition.
lots of them.
Yeah.
So my parents are actually on board, and they've changed a lot. Okay, so my 80-some-odd-year-old dad, 83, I think he just turned 80. Yeah, so they're on board because. So I would ask her, "How's it working for you?" Okay, so how does she feel? Does she feel vibrant?
Right.
Is she sleeping well? How's her current diet serving her? Because her life is very different here
Right.
than it was back home.
Yeah.
And I would ask her, how did her parents and her grandparents fare, right? Growing up with that food in that, because like the first thing, we are in North America,
Right.
and all of our grains are sprayed, highly sprayed. Now the rice is imported, right? But even then,
Right.
it's highly sprayed. So
yeah.
the food quality has deteriorated.
Right.
Our activity levels have changed. Like, so could you tell me, how does she compare to grandma? If you knew grandma.
My grandma, she passed, but she was very lean.
She was lean.
Yeah, she was very lean, but she was active. So
Yeah.
she'd be walking,
Right.
going to the store.
Right.
So she would be moving a lot.
Right.
And so I feel like that was beneficial for her. Even as she was eating food, she was also being active.
Yes.
Whereas here, my mom is not as active because work, life, stress.
Yes.
It's
all that
different,
stuff.
yes.
It just keeps building up. So
Yeah.
she's not active.
Right.
So, yeah.
So this is what I would point out to her. Okay, so how is it serving her? Mom, how do you feel? How do you
Right.
compare to grandma? How, how is her energy at this point in her
Right,
life?
right.
And so that's one. Two, different environments require different eating. So although she's used to this style of eating, she's in a different climate. It's a different place, right?
yeah.
So your food has to adapt to the environment that you're living in. And three, understand that the food quality has changed.
Yeah.
So then I would just get her to, because once you know and you think about it and you're not told,
Yeah.
right? So I get the buy-in
Yeah.
of my clients because otherwise they're not going to change and it feels very forced.
Right.
So I could have an offline conversation with
Yeah.
her if it would help.
Because the thing is because like you said, like it's not the same environment. I think she also has to understand that too. And it's like I'm at an age where I'm like, my mom is getting older, but I don't want her to feel old. Like, like your age, it's fine. It's always gonna go up, but it doesn't necessarily mean like you have to physically feel that age.
For sure.
So I just want her to be healthy enough to move, and her knees and her back and her body
Right.
just feels like young enough to keep moving.
Yeah.
Because she always says this, like, I want to be able to lift my grandchildren. I'm like, Mom, the way that you're looking right now, it ain't looking like you're going to be able to do that in the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Because eventually your body breaks down, right?
For sure.
And so health starts to deteriorate and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
and I mean, the sooner that you start,
Yeah.
the more responsive your body is going to be.
Right.
And it's, you know, it doesn't have to be fancy. Like you could work with what she's eating and then healthify it and then maybe add a couple of things to just, you know, boost her, you know, energy levels and her, etc., her satiety and whatever, improve her sleep. So, there's lots you could do, but you gotta like get their buy-in, teach them if they're open to learning, but also understand that it's their journey. Oh, this is where I wanted to go. You get them to think about where they want to go and really assess whether the things that they're doing today is going to get them there. And if it's not, and they want to feel better, then they have to make a change. And it's not an overhaul. They don't have to change everything. It's just they have to change something.
But I think, like, as my mom gets older, because my mom is 10 years older, 11 years older than their mom, I think as you get older as a child, they somewhat become like your child, if that makes sense. You know? And it's like my mom, she's bigger as well, but like sometimes she doesn't eat. Like she'll just go to work,
helps, like
she'll have her tea, her sandwich, and then go to work, won't eat lunch or anything, then come home, eat a big meal, you know? And I'm like, Mommy, this is not healthy for you. No. But she's capable of moving, of like working out and stuff like that. But I'm afraid like when she because she's gonna retire like in 3 years. When she retires, like I feel like she goes to work for social, like just to like hang out with her friends and stuff like that. But when she retires, it's like the self-motivating factor is not there, and that's scary, you know. Whereas I feel like when you're in Africa or in Ghana, where I'm from, you're kind of forced to like, you know, like move like
talk to people.
You move to live, really.
Exactly.
You have to get your water. You have to get your food.
And this is where the carbs came from. This is why they relied on carbs, because they needed it to do all that. Otherwise, you know, like it's really cool. Like God created everything good. He in every environment, he gave you the food that you needed. You know, like in the tropics, they have sweet fruit, like tropical fruit, for a reason. Their body functions really well, and they burn that off, like, you know. But here we eat the tropical fruit, and it's not exactly the best thing for us because our environment is different.
That's so true.
I have a question. So the Bible tells us that we were created in the image and likeness of God, and that we were created fearfully and wonderfully made. How do you help individuals develop a healthy body image and overcome any negative self-perceptions about themselves?
That's really good. It's a really, really good question. And I'll tell you, it's tough because, especially as women, so I work predominantly with women. Men don't have as big a problem.
I think, man, sometimes we don't even care. They
don't care.
I care.
You care.
Kenneth cares too, right, Kenneth?
But women are different because it's, I mean, depending on the era, I grew up in the 80s and 90s where skinny was the thing. Okay? We did not want a booty. We did it. Now,
it's completely different.
Now it's an insult, you know. And my daughter's like, "Mom, your butt's so flat." I'm like, "Thanks." You know, like it's crazy. So we aspire, or our eyes get used to a certain figure, and this is what we. You know, and when we don't, it's like a lot of self-deprecation and a lot of. So the first thing that I do is I try to help women understand that their body. So I'm, you know, under 5 feet tall. I'm short. I'm never going to look like a model, no matter what exercise, what thing I do. I'm never going to be a 6 foot, you know, a skinny person. But I could be a really healthy and strong version of me and feel good. And, you know, I was trying on, it's summer, I was trying on shorts. And when you get older, your body shifts. Like, you know, our hips actually grow. They get wider. You know, like when you look at an older person from the back and they just look wider.
Yeah.
That's physiological. I researched this because some of my coats weren't zipping
Just like, what's
up.
going on?
Yeah, I couldn't understand it because my weight hasn't
Yeah.
changed. I'm like, why is this not zipping? And then I found the research that our rib cage changes shape and our hips grow, like, and it actually, the scale increases because we're growing more hip bones, like they're just getting wider. So our body shape is going to change. And that's actually a good thing because, you know, it's going to help us not fall because, you know, we're getting wider, etc. So our bodies are going to change, but we're so much more than a physical being. Like, we're first spirit, right? And we have qualities about us that go far beyond what we physically look like, and we're not going to have physical body or whatever, you know, like we're going to be different in heaven. And it's really important to take care of your body, but also not be obsessed with the details, which is hard. Like, I'm going to be the first one to admit it. It's very hard. It's a daily thing because this is the industry that I'm in, and this is what women, you know, we talk about a lot. But so I have to navigate it daily, and I have to remind myself and give it over to Jesus and help him to, you know, help me with my psychology when things get, you know, get the better of me. So I think, you know, there's some things that I work on with women, and so, you know, I get into a lot of this stuff because when I first studied nutrition, I realized that it's not enough to teach them food, right? Because it's so complicated. We have so much attachment to food and soothing with food, and you know, you get upset and food, you celebrate, you know, it makes you feel better. It's just, it's physiology. So I studied life coaching. So I integrate. I had to.
That's cool. That's a good
I had
message.
to.
Because you are dealing with a lot, like you said, people have their trauma and their baggage, so you have to be able to handle that and be able to do the food part too.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think understanding yourself and you know, celebrating the parts of you that are not physical. I you know, that's what I do with help them. Is, you know, start to, like, they've done research when women stand in front of the mirror and they're like focusing on all their stuff and pinching and, oh, I hate this. Their cortisol levels go up. Cortisol is your stress hormone.
Right.
And it's not, I mean, it has, you know, physiological benefit, but when you're doing that to yourself over and over and over, it's not a good thing, and it's actually going to cause you to gain weight. Okay? That's what gets them. So you look at yourself and you find the things that you like about yourself, right? And you focus on those and you show gratitude. Like, you guys, we have so much to be grateful for, right? 2 arms, 2 legs. I can walk. If I want to, I could run. I have eyes that see. Like, really, you know, we have so much to be grateful for. And if you focus on the things that we have to be grateful for, there's, you know, the imperfections are what they are. We all have imperfections. It's gonna be okay.
So as we know, like, I guess, like, in our faith we have fasting, and so fasting is like a spiritual practice that many Christians follow, of course. But can you share an insight and offer how intermittent fasting can help with, I guess, like, aligning with our weight loss and some of our goals, like both physical and spiritual?
Sure. So, I mean, for me, I compartmentalize the two. Okay, so I wouldn't mix health fasting with spiritual fasting, because they are very different. So when I'm spiritual fasting, God really helps me through it, because prolonged fasts are really hard for, especially after 40 women. Men are okay. Men could fast. You know, so I think it's really important as women, guys, to understand that most of the research papers are geared towards men. They study men. And they don't study us because we have hormones, and depending on where we are, they will have different results. So men are just easier to study. I don't think it's, that a bias, like, discriminatory bias. But so it's important to understand that fasting affects women differently, and depending on where you are in life. So if you are under 35, you can fast. Okay, and not have the repercussions of fasting. So one of the things that happens with prolonged fasts is cortisol rises. Cortisol is your stress hormone. So I have a lot of women that fast, like they're doing their, they're skipping breakfast basically, and they're having dinner by like 6 or 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
In order to help regulate your blood sugar levels, what happens is cortisol spikes. If cortisol spikes too high, that messes up the rest of your hormones. So, like it could lead to issues. So what I find is under 35, you can fast. I like to fast with sunrise and sunset. Like traditionally, if I look back in history, what was traditional fasting? Well, they stopped eating when the sun set, and they started to eat after sunrise.
That's true.
So yeah, like after dinner, I like to see us not eating and indulging, because all this stuff happens after it goes downhill.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good practice to, not eat after dinner, but I love to see people eating breakfast, especially women, because like if I look at people's diets, all the stuff like your mom happens later on in the day. If we could shift our nutrients and our calories during the day where we're actually expending energy, then we could eat the same amount of food as mom would eat at dinner. We would be lean. We would not develop diabetes and cholesterol, etc., because we ate during a time where we're actually using up energy. Instead, what's happening to mom now is cortisol is spiking to compensate for the fact that she's not eating. So she's getting double whammy.
Are you taking notes?
Yeah, I wanted to also know, like a side note, like how does that affect sleep in terms of like your eating and your sleep? Because I know my mom, like she struggles with her sleep and like, and so I'm like, I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know how to help. So I'm like maybe that could be a contributing factor.
Absolutely,
to sleep, so.
For sure, because. So we have a natural sleep-wake cycle. So what wakes us up in the morning is actually cortisol. Cortisol spikes, and you're supposed to wake up like, ooh, I'm awake, because cortisol is spiking. Your blood sugar rises, and you wake up. For some people, and then, it's supposed to dip throughout the day, melatonin rises, you feel sleepy, you go to bed, and you sleep through the night, and you wake up, with the sunrise. For most people, it doesn't quite work like that. And what happens is they're either not able to fall asleep, or they fall asleep and they're waking up and they can't go back to sleep. That wake up is actually cortisol spiking. So cortisol is spiking when it should be very quiet. And so how do you reverse that? Well, fix the day. So one of the things that, it's not all about food, okay? So how do you wake up in the morning? So you wake up and you do what? Are you rushed getting out of the house? Are you starting your day with a coffee? Are you skipping breakfast? Are you having something like a piece of toast and butter, or or maybe a coffee?
Cup of tea and toast.
Right.
That's it.
Okay. So her blood sugar is going to rise nice and high. She's going to get a little spike in energy, and then it's going to crash. And if she's not eating, cortisol is going to rise. Okay, so cortisol is rising when it shouldn't, her body's going to be like, she's going to have hormonal imbalances through the day. Like we think of hormones like, your cycle. No, we have so many hormones, over 50 hormones in the body that govern everything from your hunger to sleep to digestion. So what she could do is have a nice breakfast. So wake up. If she can, go for a walk. see the sun. When your eyes get access to sun, it tells your body that it's morning, and that actually helps you produce more melatonin at night. So, like, it's just, think of how life used to be, right? You'd wake up, you'd maybe go tend to the chickens, so you'd have to be forced to go outside. Your eyes would get, access to sunlight. You'd know that it's morning. You'd come back, you might eat something, and then start your day. So getting access to sunlight first thing in the morning is really helpful for sleep at night. And so I always start with food and regulating the day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, protein-forward meals. 25% of your calories should be coming from protein. So depending on how big you are, it varies.
More, yeah.
But on average, 30 to 35 grams of protein per meal. And then, regular meals.
Yeah,
3 meals a day.
I remember you telling me how important breakfast was.
Yeah. It sets everything, the tone for the entire day. And most of us are skipping it or not eating enough or...
That used to be me. And
Yeah.
it would definitely mess me up throughout the day.
So how did you feel different?
So now I eat breakfast.
Yeah.
Or I try to be as consistent. Or eat 2 eggs.
Yeah.
And some type of protein drink or something
Yeah.
like that. So now I feel more energy.
You do.
I'm not as hungry as I used to be.
Yeah.
So now I can see the difference. And then when I do wake up, I'm not as groggy or really
Right.
super tired.
Yeah.
I do fall asleep quickly because that's just naturally. I feel like that's just me.
Thank God.
But it definitely helps when you eat breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. I think that makes a huge difference.
It does make a
Yeah.
difference.
And it depends on what you're eating specifically too, because you can eat breakfast, but my mom, she
Yeah.
a cup of tea and that's just gonna cover it.
Yeah.
It's water. I'm like, that's so water. My dad says the same thing too. I'm like, yeah, you're not gonna drink. You're not gonna eat something like a cup of tea. That's not food. That's not food. But now I'm more conscious and intentional about what I'm gonna put in my body.
So good.
I'm trying to be. If it's oatmeal, I need oatmeal. I've tried to enjoy oatmeal because sometimes
I love
No,
oatmeal.
I found a
Now
recipe.
I love oatmeal
Now
too.
I found a recipe, so I'm like, okay,
oatmeal.
oatmeal is my go-to. Before I was like, this is disgusting.
Nope.
Never.
I like
but now
oatmeal
I
now,
found
too.
a recipe, so oatmeal would be my go-to. Or if I'm in a rush, I would just boil 2 eggs and try to get.
That's
some,
good.
yeah.
So with the oatmeal, you just have to add protein to it.
Yes, and I do that.
Yeah.
Which tastes so good.
Yeah, it does, right?
It's delicious.
Good.
I was just looking at, I was looking at your beautiful, luscious, amazing, it looks so thick hair. And so I have a question about hair and food, obviously.
Yeah.
Does food help your hair growth?
Yes.
Okay.
That's true? Damn, I might have to.
Okay, so I need to. He's losing his mind. Okay, this is because obviously people are out here probably listening hair. I would say thin to medium hair type. And my sister Janet, she has
a luscious.
I think it's getting worse, but
it's not super thick, but it's thicker. Thicker than mine. And my mom it's thin, but it's long. How do I increase my hair growth? I want my hair to be because I do you go to the hair salon, you cut your hair, whatever it is, but it doesn't feel like my hair is growing. And I find that I'm like, what else can I do? I can put all these oils in my hair and it's still not moving how I want it to move.
Question.
And I get it's also genetics too, but I feel like how can you incorporate that aspect of food to help your hair growth?
That's really good. So, so first you start with the food, right? So you make sure that you have enough protein in your diet, because if you think about hair, it's made out of protein.
Right.
So, so once you have that covered, about 25% of your calories are coming from protein. Quality of protein matters. And then there's some nutrients that I actually like to work with, meaning if there are deficiencies in the body, I will see skin and hair issues. So retinol, Okay, this is why eggs are rich in retinol, and retinol is one of the the nutrients that's missing in our modern day diet because we've cut out eggs, we've cut out butter because of cholesterol, and then I don't know how you're gonna feel about this. We've cut out organ meats.
Yeah, like liver.
Like livers,
Oh
kidney.
yeah.
That's true.
Right?
We used to
That's
eat that,
the reaction
actually.
that
Yeah,
we
we used
get.
to eat it.
My mom used to make that a lot.
Yeah.
Like when we were younger.
Yeah.
And then she just stopped.
So some of my clients who do the best are the ones who introduce liver once a week, just a little piece.
Right.
But it's like your superfood, super nutrient. Now I like it organic because the liver is a cleansing organ. So order it from the farm. It's like $10 for a package. It'll feed an entire family. Okay, so it's not expensive when you think, okay, what does fast food cost me, right?
Right.
So, so it's really about nutrients. So once they do that, like my mom's hair was falling out. Really, she had hair better than mine, and then now it's thinner.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be.
Right.
So her hair has started to grow back. So retinol, adding a little bit of liver to your diet, magnesium. So we need to metabolize our calcium, etc. well, and the most important mineral as a cofactor to that is magnesium. So you can go into FitnessPal and log in the food that you're eating, and you should meet minimum amounts. And so magnesium is about 450 milligrams. Are you meeting that? If not, you might need to supplement or look at foods and include. So it's not just about the macros like protein, fat. Are you getting nutrients through your food? And I promise you, if you add liver, it's gonna skyrocket.
Okay. On the grocery list.
Good luck.
I'm gonna have to chop that thing up into small itty bitty pieces and just incorporate it like fried rice. Actually, you know what? That's actually a thing. The Nigerian culture is some are fried rice. They actually incorporate liver, so it's like small little pieces. So I like it. You don't really.
You won't taste it.
You don't really taste it. So that's
Before we go, can you tell us about canola oil?
Yeah, I need to.
That
was literally in the back of my mind. I need to know.
You told me about that oil. I was like, what?
Please, I've been using that.
So ever since you bought it, I don't think I ever bought it.
Good.
Like I would use like olive oil.
So
or
wait,
coconut.
canola. It's canola, not vegetable.
All vegetable oils.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm talking about all vegetable oils.
Okay.
So canola, sunflower seed, what else is there? Grapeseed, all of them. Okay, think about when they were introduced. Pretty new. Like what did your mom grow up using back home?
Palm oil.
Palm oil.
Palm oil.
Yeah.
Saturated fat.
Yeah, that's
Good.
Oh.
Okay?
It's good. Palm oil is good.
Oh yeah, well,
I grew up my whole
saturated
life.
means good, doesn't it?
What's that?
Saturated
means
fat.
good.
Saturated?
Yes, I was confused then.
Saturated, according to the world, bad. Cholesterol. Saturated, according to nutrition and research, it's actually good because, so butter is a saturated fat, palm oil, coconut oil.
Isn't avocado oil, is it that in there too?
Avocado oil, I personally categorize it with the seed oils because it's a very new oil. Like if you look at, funny, I was talking to my daughter about this just now. When you look at avocado oil, it's a very new oil. And if you look at true cold press avocado oil, it's green and it's thick. So to process it into clear oil is a lot of processing. So I always look to traditional. What did we grow up with? We grew up with butter. I am from the Mediterranean. We grew up with olive oil. I love coconut oil. It's a great saturated fat. And palm oil. Okay, so palm oil, there's ethical issues with it in their etc. But from a health perspective, those would be the 4 oils that would be healthful. Because if you process a saturated fat, the fatty acid chains are stable, meaning you can heat it, you can expose it to light and heat, and it will not go rancid. Whereas the problem with the seed oils is that they are processed at very, very high heat. If you just go on YouTube and you look up how do they make canola oil, by the end of the video, they tell you that they deodorize it and they bleach it in order to serve it to you, because otherwise it would smell rancid. So by the time you eat it, it's rancid. So I've done an experiment where I've gone to restaurants, you know, and every time I'd go to a restaurant, I would feel ill. And what I've realized is it's the oils. So for the last 4 months, I've been very diligent, and I tell them that I have a sensitivity and I get IBS reactions, and it's not pretty. And they're so they only cook with olive oil or you know, whatever they have that's healthy, or butter. And I've not had one reaction. Like, I would come home with completely bloated and really uncomfortable to feeling great after a restaurant. So yeah, you don't want to eat it. It's truly, it's going to make such an impact, even with your skin. Like, you see people with like liver spots and things like that on their skin, or like early premature aging. It's the oils.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it takes, it takes like, it takes half a year, because our cells have a fatty acid membrane. It takes half a year to remove these fats, like for the body to remove the fat from at a cellular level, to detox it essentially. So you're carrying around and like low energy, tiredness, like it's just so bad. If like you could do one thing, just cut out these oils and replace it with a healthy oil.
Wow, that is.
Well, if you didn't know, now you know. Don't use those oils.
Use that.
And this palm oil that my parents were doing a little something. We always would think,
it was so thick. That's why I'm like, I don't like palm oil.
But like they were doing something kind of right. I guess.
They were.
Because that's what my mom uses in like the stews. She uses sometimes palm oil, a little bit of vegetable oil. Because sometimes palm oil is kind of a little bit.
But she be using a lot of vegetable oil, so we might have to revise that now.
Just switch it out and just
just
because sometimes it's cheap. I mean, it's cheap. That's why people will get the vegetable oil and stuff like that. So I don't blame people, but switch and just use less oil.
Yes, that's true.
Use less oil. Use less oil. It's. If you think that it's actually harming your body and like it's doing we didn't touch on this, okay, but I think as believers we need to understand this, that the food that we eat, the enemy uses it to actually harm us. Like God created food to nourish us, to build us up, so we have a long, healthy life. The enemy's taking that, it's perverted it, and it like they make it taste really good, right? And it does the actual opposite of what God intended to do. So maybe approach mom from that respect, like. It's
true. I never actually thought of it like that, because we're like, food, you know, God gave it to us.
Yeah, it's all good.
But the enemy perverts almost everything, if not everything, right? Because we are living in a world that is full of sin, so food is a part of that, right? And so, he does play mind games with our food, and obviously indulges us in trying to mass produce and try to make more food that doesn't necessarily have to be there. We can just use what we have, and so it's been we still gotta have more conversation after this, because it's not the end. I still have so many more other questions, but it's been a blessing to have you on this podcast. I've learned a lot.
Same.
I'm gonna have a conversation with my mom.
Same.
Bring it down, but like, no, you need to watch this episode. And she's a believer. She ain't no just random person.
I said, Mommy, I talked to Miss Laura, and I just think you should just do this, because she said.
And she said, I'm not gonna say I said. She said. So thank you so much. Before we go, is there anything that you want to leave to encourage those who are listening with anything, just anything that's on your heart?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, the first thing that I want to say is that any disease that, you know, you have could be reversed. I'm a firm believer of that. I've seen all kinds of things reverse. So, you know, God is the healer, but he's also, we have to partner with him, right? We have to partner with him. So I'd say, you know, you're never too far gone. I don't care what you're going through, you're never too far gone. If you're willing to change, you can. And the second thing I would say is it doesn't have to be an overhaul. So if you don't know where to start, I always start with, you could cut out the oils, okay? And then start with breakfast. Start with one meal a day. And then, you know, focus on breakfast for a week. I'm just going to fix breakfast. Everything else, honestly could stay the same. Don't think, because I think that's the overwhelming part. People are like, I don't know where to start. I have to change everything. Okay, throw the oil out and then have breakfast. And then week 2, okay, you know what? I think I could focus on lunch. I think I'm going to have a healthier lunch. And then week 3, I'm going to focus on dinner. So in 3 weeks, you can overhaul everything and not be overwhelmed. You know, so you don't have to do everything all at once. Just start where you can. Add more vegetables. You know, eat what God created, and you can sprinkle in the rest of the stuff.
So many gems.
She said it. You heard her. Follow her instructions. This is God said. This is not. This is God said. So, can they find you anywhere on Instagram? Are you like? How can people connect with you?
Before you shout out your Instagram, her Instagram is sick. Like you are a great content creator.
Thank
you. I was really studying your page before I got here. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So yes, tell the people
where can they find you?
So it's called Nutrition Her Way. They can find me on Instagram. It's the same. My website is nutritionherway.com. They can to connect me with me either. I'm on both places very consistently. And what was I going to say? Yeah, I don't know what else I was going to say. But yeah, Instagram.
Awesome.
You guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, share this to a friend, share this to your mom.
Anybody.
Anybody.
Your uncles, your aunties. Them people that said, food, don't worry, food is good for you. Food is good for you.
Share this. Like on Spotify as well. Leave a comment. Guys, this is amazing conversation, and we just appreciate you so much.
Yes, we do.
Close this out.
Well, we are the Juxtaposition, and we are out.
Peace.